I am Grady Colane in the CapeCod.com News Center, and welcome to Sunday Journal. I'm joined today by a special guest with the Family Table Collaborative. Can you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Thanks, Grady. Yes, my name is Jeni Wheeler. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Family Table Collaborative. We started as a little bit of a rapid response to COVID, putting nutritious, delicious meals into the community for anyone who needed a little extra love. And then we kind of have morphed over time into kind of the full social enterprise that we are today. We took over the old Riverway Lobster House over 2.5 years ago now. It blows my mind.
I'm shocked every time you mention the time that's gone by.
It's
but yes,
crazy. Me too. Thank you. And since that's happened, you have partnered with all the local farms, the Fishermen's Alliance, the fishing and shellfishing industry at large, and Whole Foods Market as my largest community partner. My team's taken over 100 cases of food from Whole Foods every week. So the meals that we make are made significantly with a lot of produce in particular that would have otherwise been thrown away. So we have recently tipped our 130,000th meal into the community, which also crazy. We have north of 620 volunteers, though we always need more, and we're growing. And the reality is, not only do we my teams take in all the food and kind of address what we can use and what we aren't going to use but can still rescue. So food that we can rescue, we clean up and put right back out through agencies that interface directly with families. So in 2022, we rescued and put back into the community over 25,000 pounds of fresh produce in addition to all of our meals. And this year, we're on par to do at least a third more than that. So that's added that different layer. And then whatever we can't rescue goes to feed the local farm animals. And then whatever they don't eat goes back in the ground right here on Cape Cod as compost. So we address the full food cycle with that focus on nutritional security, increasing nutrition across Cape Cod. So there's a little bit of a difference between like the traditional food security and nutritional security. And that's what we do. So, we're playing in where we really want to make people enjoy food differently, eat better quality food, but also make them, kind of aware of how the food cycle, how we as a country address the food cycle has direct impacts not only into our physical and mental health, but on things like the environment. Somewhere between 8 and 25% of all carbon emissions comes from food waste. So there's a very direct correlation. So we just need to do a better job, and that's what we're working on.
All right, awesome. And I know a lot of that is, speaking of things that you're doing to reach out, I believe you've offered recipes in the past and like cooking classes. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, we believe that in order to move the needle on nutritional security, you have to meet people where they're at. And we mean that in multiple ways, right? Because where they're at both physically, people talk about Cape Cod from over the bridge as if it's a neighborhood. When you stretch it out, it's like the length of 2/3 of Massachusetts or something like that. I mean,
pretty
it's
far from Falmouth to Provincetown, as it turns out.
So the problem is that there's not a lot of public transit. There's not so there are issues that are unique to Cape Cod that actually around getting to access points, right? And then in addition to that, it's meeting you where you're at, which is right now prepared food. We're a country that has become heavily dependent on prepared meals. And often those prepared meals are highly processed, which means the food is significantly degraded. It's often high in fat, salt, sugar, preservatives, oh my, or all of the above. So that has unfortunately led to us being the unhealthiest developed country in the world. And that's one of those Debbie Downer moments, right? But we're fixing it. We're on our way to fixing it. And so our belief is that you have to meet people where they're at. So that prepared food, we still need to meet you with prepared food, but we need to meet you with nutritious, delicious prepared food and then get your buy-in. And then that allows you to allow us to help you help yourself, which is the educational components. So we've partnered with the Hyannis Public Library now for 2+ years. I do an online free Zoom cooking class once a month that we, release the list of ingredients and people can cook online with me. And that actually, the interaction led to a lot of people asking the question like, hey, what can I do with what's left? Because whenever you're making recipes, you always have stuff left over. You can't go buy half a cabbage or, And so that actually led to me writing a quarterly column for Edible Cape Cod, where I feature a local chef in one of their recipes, and then I create a recipe with what's left. And it's kind of that ode to stretching a dollar, but also, continuing to utilize and reduce waste, right? Utilize the ingredients you have and reduce waste while all the time increasing that nutritional component. Mm-hmm. So we've done all of that. The education component is huge. We will be rolling out a far more robust education component at FTC this year, which again is the old Riverway Lobster House in South Yarmouth. And we're going to be rolling out classes with all different chefs in a variety of different techniques and, food offerings. And we're also going to see a lot of new pop-ups coming where, varying chefs are going to come in and do pop-ups that you'll be able to purchase from, all just kind of expanding people's experience to what's available on Cape Cod. We just finished up the second annual Bass River Multicultural Food Festival. We had over 14 different offerings, and that's done at both our location and at the cultural center because we're one block apart. And it's just this amazing event to expose people to, just the breadth of what's available here on Cape Cod. So it all goes into having a great time exposing people to really, really good food.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. So, it's November. Of course, immediately we have the Thanksgiving on the mind. It's a month of food. And then we'll, of course, be getting ready for the holidays as well. So kind of just a bleed in together, one meal after another, really, especially in my house. So as part of that, I just wanted to highlight and talk a little bit more about some of the events that are going on in the month of November in terms of what you guys are providing for the local community and general resources. Do you want to start first with this November 12th event that we have going on?
Yes, November 12th. We're very excited about this because this is the first time an event like this has really been held. It's sponsored by Tufts Healthcare. We're having a nutritional food access resource fair, and we're doing it on a Sunday afternoon because a big part of this is allowing people to access the resources, not only informing them that they're there, but also this concept of gathering resources in one location so families can come and actually find out that, hey, all of this stuff is available to you. Because we all know how long we take tracking things down on the phone and trying to figure out where to go and who to talk to. Well, if we can get multiple of these, resources, and there are many on Cape Cod, there are a lot of resources available to individuals, seniors, families. But often people go, oh, I never knew about that. Or, oh, I've tried to reach this one and I haven't been able to reach this one. Well, our objective is to bring them all together and honestly to also decrease the stigma, right? Because anything we do is fun. We believe in adding fun. So, we're going to bring agencies together. We're going to bring all of this information together. We're going to bring the families in. We're partnered with Capabilities Farm, who we're partnered with in FTC in general. But also, we're partnered with them because they're going to be providing us with food bags that I'm then going to take and create recipes with. And so every family will get a bag of fresh food recipe cards, spice packets. So they're going to be able to go home and make a meal. But we're also going to do a cooking demo while they're there, showing them how to make this meal. And then they're going to be able to taste it. And then, of course, we're going to bring all sorts of additional tasty treats to the table, right? And we're going to have crafts and, all sorts of things for the kids to do. So it's really going to be a fun day and, hopefully something very valuable to the community members who need those access points.
I'm reminded immediately of things like HelloFresh or a lot of these online subscription-based services. They'll send you some ingredients along with a little recipe cookbook that comes with it. However, this is a much more local angle is what I'm kind of gathering. You think that it's probably maybe a bit better if it's from the local community that you're sharing?
Absolutely. We're hoping that, we always seek to use as much locally as possible. And, we're lucky here on Cape Cod. We have a great deal of natural resources, both in the agricultural side with farmland and, what can be grown here, but also with the fishing and shellfishing industries. So we're incredibly lucky for what we have access to. So we always try and highlight that first. And we have some unbelievable farms and local money stays local. So this helps families also see that by eating better, it actually can save them money and they feel better. Food is the number one thing that affects our physical and our mental health. We've all had those moments where we go, oh my goodness, I wish I didn't eat that, right? It happens more frequently as we age. However, it does happen even to kids, you see, sometimes. So, this idea of, exposing people, often when I do cooking classes, I, tell the kids, okay, you're going to post this on your fridge. And I say, eat the rainbow. And I don't mean Skittles, because you get different vitamins and different nutrients from different colored foods. And then I often challenge the parents. Try, if you're thinking, oh, that's like kind of a fun activity for the kids, challenge yourself to do it, because more often than not, people eat a very narrow amount of types of food. And unfortunately, it's just impossible to get nutritional, density when you're eating the American 5-year-old white food diet. I often challenge my groups when they come. I'm like, send me your husbands, your kids, your parents, your siblings, your whatever for 2 weeks. I promise you I will send them home liking vegetables. Maybe not every vegetable, but so much of it depends on how it's made and how it's presented. And, I joke with people all the time, but it's really not a joke. There was one texture when my dad was growing up of vegetables. Mush. So it's no wonder most people don't like vegetables. They used to boil everything to death. Yuck.
Variety is the spice of life, so I'm told. But I can concur. Me and my fiance, for having an off day, we usually just start with, have you eaten yet, and what have you eaten? What color was it? And then usually from there on, we're one carrot, and we're like, everything's fine, actually. As it turns out, everything was totally fine. But that is fascinating. That is great to know. We have a lot of other things going on with Thanksgiving around the corner, too. I wanted to get you in and talk a little bit more about some of the services you'll be providing that day. I've heard it's going to be quite the event, and I'm sure a lot of work has already gone into it. So can you elaborate more?
Yes. So first of all, fall is my favorite personal season. It is my favorite season. It's my favorite season, not only on Cape Cod, but in general. And it happens to also tip into Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday. I'm sure many people are not surprised by this.
Who would have been? Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
But Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and of course, it's because there was a mural painted at the collaborative when we first started that said everyone has a seat at our table, and it's something that I truly believe in from the depths of my soul. So for me, it is the cornerstone of kind of how we do what we do. And so that brings even deeper meaning around Thanksgiving, I think, for me. So we're doing two things. We're doing the thing we've always done, of course, bigger and more amazing than ever, which is we're producing a lot of really, really, really good Thanksgiving meals to go out into the community. We're anticipating that will be north of 1,200 meals going out this year. We always kind of cook them on the Mondays and Tuesdays. We try and distribute Wednesday right before Thanksgiving so that anybody that wants to have a Thanksgiving meal has access to that. So that's very important to us. And then for the second year in a row, and this year I anticipate it will be much larger. Last year I was a little nervous. I didn't really advertise it, but we will be opening the Family Table Collaborative to the public for one seating on Thanksgiving Day at noon for a community Thanksgiving dinner. It's a pay what you can event. And it's funny, several people asked me, like, well, why not set a, suggested donation? And honestly, I felt very strongly that this is about, I don't want somebody that couldn't pay whatever suggested amount we listed not to come, because this was truly something where I want people to come. And there's many reasons why people need to gather or want to gather for the holidays. They may not have relatives, they may live alone, and cost in money is but one of them, but it is not all of them by any stretch. So last year we had many people that, reduced me to tears because they gave, a couple of dollars, and you could tell how much it meant to them to contribute. And then I had a woman who gave us a check for $1,000 because she could, and she watched this beautiful, amazing event happen. And all of them ate in the same dining room, ate from the same buffet, and just were incredible. It impacted everybody that was in the room. And it meant so much to me to be able to open our facility to the community directly. It was very impactful. So if you are looking for a place to have Thanksgiving for whatever reason, whether you're alone, whether, you are without family, or whether, you're financially challenged, we participated in Oktoberfest a couple of weeks ago in Dennis, and Kelly and I, Kelly runs my kitchen. She's one of our chefs. And we had a woman come up to us and say, you don't know this, but last year I had a really, really difficult year. And she did not elaborate. I don't know exactly what happened, but she said, you have no idea what the meal I got from you guys meant to me last year. She said she stared at it for like an hour because it was so beautiful. And she said it was clearly so thoughtfully put together, which we do put a lot of effort into this. But she said, you have no idea how much it meant. She said, and I had to come by and tell you. And obviously she was in a very different place this year. But these are the things I tell people, you never know what somebody's going through. So cost is one thing, but it's only one thing. So there's a lot more going on in society today. So we're very, very happy to welcome anybody. And all you have to do is text us your first name, say Thanksgiving, and how many seats you want. Be prepared. We're going to seat you family style. So if you're reserving one or two, be prepared to sit with people you may not know. But that's really what this is all about. It's about bringing community together. And we have 225 spaces.
It sounds like a lot, but at the same time, I'm sure it'll go quite fast.
Yes, it's going quite quickly.
Already, oh goodness. So this is the second year you've been doing this, is that
yes,
right? So are you hoping to see some returning faces this November round?
I hope that people come for whatever reason they want to come. I mean, I think sometimes, particularly with, our distributions, we have a lot of regulars, but, sometimes you're also happy maybe to not have to, for somebody to not need you anymore. It's a weird type of thing. You want to be able to, you want to be able to be there for anybody that needs you. And yet you also hope that you can help just that little bit to get them to a place that maybe they don't need you anymore. And so, it was, like I said, it was a very emotional experience for me last year. And I am very much looking forward to welcoming people this year again.
That is awesome. Now, we already spoke earlier a little bit about the origins of this effort that you've been giving now apparently for several years that have just gone by like a snap of the fingers for me. But did you really ever think that you'd be doing these sorts of things when you first started this effort?
No.
Thanksgiving, takeaway meals.
No. It's actually, what's kind of funny is my co-founder, Harry Henry, and I, that very first year, just about a full year, before we took over the old Riverway Lobster House, when we were delivering, the Cape Codder actually donated their kitchen and their chef team to begin with. And then Guaranteed Fresh donated their trucks and their drivers. I made all the soups. They made all the meals. And it was just the American Culinary Federation partnered with us. So we were off to the races, but it was all about a rapid response. So there was no real forethought on kind of where it was going. It was just to help fill a need that was very clearly here with COVID. As we started distributing the meals, first of all, I don't think that there was a distribution that happened for the first 6 months that I didn't cry. And the crazy part is I'm not that person usually, but people just took my heart. Like the things we heard, we were the only home cooked meal they were getting that week. They were scared, they were isolated, it was just so much. And the stories we heard, and Harry would from time to time say, "So Jen, do you think there's a place for us to become a permanent entity? Should we consider filing a 501c3?" And I would be like, "No."
Of course not.
No.
4 or 5 years later, here we are.
And here we are. And it really changed. And it's because, Cape Cod has a lot of nonprofits. And it's also a difficult place because of how spread out it is, and that it's, 15 different towns and all the different, town governments. And it's a difficult place to navigate. And then, my background is business. I did my MBA at Babson, focus in social entrepreneurship. So I always layer business over everything. And so when I was looking at how could we go about creating real change? Because that's the other component. I don't like to Band-Aid things. I'm not I was happy to do a rapid response to help in a time of need, but I had no interest to Band-Aid something. If we were going to tackle something, I wanted to go after creating sustainable change. And, and that was, I didn't see a pathway to that. And then you have funding, how do we, with Cape Cod has more nonprofits per capita than anywhere else in the United States. And then you look at the funding, and it's predominantly 5 or 6 family foundations and 20 individuals. And you have to evaluate from a business standpoint, is there a way to make that sustainable? And I wasn't certain there was. And so until Jason Sisko approached us, and he is the owner of the Riverway Lobster House, and he came to have a meeting with me that lasted 3.5 hours that ended with him saying, "I think this property has more to offer the community, and I think you're the right person to do it." And I was like, huh.
Bit of a surprise meeting, but good that it worked out.
It was. And it was literally, I walked out the door of that meeting, picked up the phone, called Harry and said, "File the 501c3. I know what I want us to do." And, I was very clear it was going to take, it's a very large building, a very large property. I knew it would take us a little bit of time to organically, no pun intended, grow into the building. But it was crucial for me to engage the community. That I knew was imperative for us to create what even the original thoughts of what I had in mind required the community. And that's where, in fairness, that's where our success lies. Is, people say that I'm the heart of the collaborative, and don't get me wrong, I bleed the collaborative. It is my heart and soul. I feel the the weight of the world on my shoulders, being responsible for making sure thousands of people get really good meals and giving back to a community that has given so much to me. However, building to over 620 volunteers, being voted this year as one of the best places to work on Cape Cod when we have all volunteers the irony in that is a little crazy, and it's not lost on me. So I'm incredibly proud of what we've built and how we've built it, and the more ways we can bring the community in and have touch points where I'm a huge believer in collaboration. We collaborate with so many other nonprofits. We collaborate with so many organizations. We have, phenomenal support from our legislative team here. It truly takes a village to do what we do. And I sure do love ours.
That is very positive. I'm afraid we're about coming up on time now, but with other holidays looming, I just wanted to know if you had anything on the docket for December you wanted to highlight now, New Year's, or even beyond.
So we actually will be doing a holiday distribution in December as well. We anticipate that we'll be seeing similar numbers to Thanksgiving. And then I am going to allow my team to rest for a little bit. Will be closed from Christmas Day through the first week of January, other than we will still be doing mission-related things. And the one other thing that I didn't get to mention is we recently started the Community Refrigerator Program with the Hyannis Public Library. And that program has been getting a lot of attention. It's been an enormous success. And part of that comes from the fact that Antonia Stevens is a rock star. She is the director of the Hyannis Public Library. She is amazing to work with, and it is a true community partnership. They got 4 of their people Serve Safe certified, have really worked hand in hand. They engaged, the county. Andrea Marzelli is the food access coordinator for the county, and it really was a team effort. So we stock this fridge right now twice a week, and we're looking at increasing that. But it gives people this additional touch point of fresh food, and particularly with their proximity to the green, it impacts the homeless population significantly. So they really took ownership of, joining us to create this program. It's been an amazing success, and I anticipate going into the next year, you will see these fridges in multiple other locations across Cape Cod.
All right, awesome. Jeni, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. Congrats on all the milestones crossed this year, as well as some of the upcoming events that we have going on. Hopefully we'll have you back in soon to chat more.
Thank you so much, Grady, and happy holidays, everyone.
I'm Grady Collane, and this has been Sunday Journal.